Stop right here. Yes, you. Something in your spirit already knows that this moment is not random. Heaven has pressed pause on everything around you because there is a message with your name on it. You have felt the stirring, the restlessness, the quiet knowing that something is shifting. You've walked through too many nights where your soul whispered, "There has to be more than this." And tonight, the answer knocks. You are not being called by chance, you are being summoned by purpose. There is a divine knock at the door of your spirit. And if you listen closely, you'll realize it has been echoing for a while. Every disappointment, every delay, every detour, it was all God setting the stage for your unveiling. Heaven does not waste pain, and nothing that has happened to you was without divine intention. You may have questioned, why me? Why the battles? Why the silence? Why the constant feeling of being different from everyone else? The truth is, you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to break through. The very things that made you feel out of place were the signs that you were set apart. Heaven has been preparing a surprise so personal, so precise, that it could only have been designed for you. Listen, this message isn't just words on a screen, it's a divine appointment. You didn't stumble here by scrolling, you were led here by the Spirit. God is saying, I'm doing something new in your life. You've waited long enough. You are standing on the threshold of revelation. The door is about to open. There is a rhythm in heaven that aligns perfectly with divine timing. And that rhythm is now beating in sync with your destiny. Every delay that once frustrated you was actually grace protecting what was meant for you. What if you knew that the prayers you thought went unanswered were simply rerouted for greater glory? The waiting was not punishment, it was preparation. Your life is about to reveal something extraordinary. The things you thought were breaking you were, in truth, building you. You were never forgotten, never forsaken, never overlooked. Heaven has been whispering your name in rooms you've never entered and speaking your destiny in dimensions you cannot yet see. You are being positioned for a moment that will make sense of every sleepless night. This is not coincidence. This is divine timing colliding with earthly reality. God is saying, open your heart now. What I am releasing cannot be delayed another day. The storms you've survived were not in vain. The fire that tried to consume you only refined you. You have been through seasons where you felt stripped of everything. Yet here you are still standing, still breathing, still believing. That resilience is not weakness, it is proof that heaven has been defending you in silence. And now, the divine knock is louder. You can feel it. Heaven is saying, answer. This is your moment. Every angel assigned to your destiny has taken position. You are surrounded, not by chance, but by divine orchestration. The surprise that God has prepared is not something material, it's spiritual awakening, new favor, divine clarity, and a shift so deep that it will rewrite your story. The Word of God declares in the book of John, chapter 10, verse 27, My sheep listen to my voice, I know them, and they follow me. Do you hear it now? That tug in your spirit isn't imagination, it's recognition. You are hearing the voice that has been guiding you all along. It's time to respond. God has called you by name, and heaven is waiting for your yes. So here is what you must do right now. Pause, breathe, and acknowledge what's happening. You are not just listening, you are awakening. Something inside of you is rising. Something ancient and powerful. This is the divine moment you've been sensing for months, maybe years. God's hand is opening a sealed envelope over your life. Inside it is not just a blessing, it's identity, purpose, and confirmation that you were chosen before time began. Don't run from this. Don't scroll away. The same God who brought you here is about to bring you into overflow. But you must be willing to say, I'm ready. You must decide that the past no longer holds authority over your future. The pain no longer defines you, the promise does. If your heart is pounding, if your spirit is trembling, it's because heaven just touched earth through this message. This is your invitation to respond, to mark this moment as sacred. Because when you acknowledge what heaven releases, it multiplies. When you respond in faith, the doors that were shut begin to open. You are not late. You are right on schedule. God's timing is perfect, and His surprise is never delayed. It's delivered right on time. The knock at midnight is here. Open the door. Now, before this moment fades, do something prophetic. Click like to declare that you receive this word. Share it so others can awaken too. And if you know this message is for you, comment the number 777 below as your public declaration that you are opening what heaven has prepared for you. There are seasons when God hides blessings inside the very things that feel like curses. You didn't lose, it was planted. You didn't fail, it was refined. You didn't break, you were reshaped. What if the gift you've been praying for has been wrapped all this time in the disguise of hardship? What if your tears were watering the soil of a miracle that only grows in darkness? The truth is, divine surprises rarely arrive in beautiful packaging. They come in midnight hours, in unanswered prayers, in closed doors that refuse to open. But while you thought you were being buried, heaven was planting you. The soil of suffering is sacred ground for chosen ones. It's the place where destiny takes root. You've been wondering why you had to go through so much. Why the path has been harder for you than for others. It's because your calling requires deeper roots. A shallow life can grow quickly, but a divine life must grow deeply. God didn't want you to sprout for a season. He wanted you to stand for generations. That is why your growth has been hidden beneath the surface. Sometimes God allows darkness not to destroy you, but to protect what is still forming. When the seed is placed in the soil, it experiences pressure, isolation, and silence. Yet beneath that weight, transformation begins. You can't see it, but something sacred is happening. You're not forgotten, you're incubating. This is why heaven never panics when you can't see the light. God knows that darkness has a purpose. In the hidden place, He builds character. In the silent seasons, He strengthens faith. In the broken moments, He teaches surrender. The very pain you thought was punishment was preparation for glory. Look closely at your story, the disappointments, the betrayals, the shattered plans. Can you see it now? Every piece was part of the wrapping. The wrapping paper of your pain was never meant to be pretty. It was meant to conceal something priceless. And just when you thought your journey had ended, God was whispering, "Hold on. I'm still working." Sometimes the greatest gifts are disguised as losses. You thought you lost people, but God removed them to protect your peace. You thought you missed opportunities, but heaven was redirecting you to destiny. You thought you were left behind, but you were being set apart. Everything that walked away made room for something holy to walk in. The surprise of God is often hidden where you least expect it. It doesn't come when life is calm, it arrives when chaos peaks. That's how heaven works. Just when darkness thinks it has won, light breaks through. God steps in right when you think it's over, because His timing is perfect, and His ways are beyond understanding. When you look back on this season, you'll realize it wasn't darkness, it was deliverance. You'll see how every unanswered prayer was actually mercy in disguise. You'll thank God for the doors that didn't open, for the people who walked away, for the storms that forced you to stand stronger. The prophet once wrote that those who walk through the fire will not be burned, and those who pass through the waters will not drown. You have lived this truth without even realizing it. You have survived what others did not. And that survival was not random, it was divine evidence that purpose still breathes in you. Heaven didn't forget you in the dark, it trusted you with mystery. You were chosen to endure what others could not bear, so you could carry wisdom that others could not contain. The pressure that tried to crush you was the very force shaping your crown. And now, though you may still feel the weight of what you've endured, something inside you knows it wasn't wasted. The lessons you learned in silence are now becoming the foundation of your strength. The tears you shed in secret have become oil for your anointing. The darkness that surrounded you was simply the wrapping of God's perfect gift. It is written in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 28, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him." You see, nothing you've lived through is random. Every moment, every heartbreak, every delay, God has woven it together into a tapestry of purpose. The gift is ready to be revealed. The wrapping is being torn away, and what you thought was the end will soon be recognized as the beginning of everything you prayed for. The soil that once felt cold beneath you is now breaking open with light. Every buried dream begins to rise again, radiant and unstoppable. What was hidden is surfacing. The surprise is unfolding exactly on schedule, just as heaven promised from the start. You are stepping out of the shadows, carrying revelation, not regret. The pain has served its holy purpose. God is not finished. He is only beginning to show what was growing underground. Your midnight is over. Morning has arrived, and it carries your crown. There are moments when heaven speaks not through thunder, but through stillness. You expected answers in noise, in signs, in visible miracles, but instead, you found silence. And that silence has been loud. You've prayed, you've cried, and nothing seemed to shift. But what if the silence itself was the voice of God? What if the unanswered prayer was His way of positioning you for a revelation too delicate to deliver in chaos? The whisper of heaven often comes behind closed doors, when no one is watching, when the world forgets your name, when you're left alone with your thoughts. That's when God leans in closest. He does not need an audience to move. He only needs your attention. The waiting room of destiny is never empty. It's filled with invisible preparation. You've mistaken delay for denial, but heaven has been writing your script in secret. The closed doors that frustrated you were not punishments, they were shields. Every no you received was God saying, "Not yet, there's more I need to align." The same silence that once felt like abandonment was actually divine protection. Sometimes, the whisper of God carries more power than the shout of a storm. The enemy shouts to intimidate, but God whispers to invite. He whispers so you'll draw closer, so your heart will tune out every other voice until only His remains. You've been surrounded by so many opinions, so many distractions, but through it all, that quiet nudge in your spirit has persisted. That's him. The whisper is not weak, it's sacred. It's the language of intimacy. The creator of the universe doesn't need to raise his voice to reach you. He knows exactly how to find you. The whisper reminds you that he is near, that he never left, that even in your confusion, you are still guided. Think back to the moments when everything felt impossible, yet somehow you knew what to do. You couldn't explain it, but something told you to wait, to stay, to believe. That something was not coincidence, it was communication. The whisper behind the closed door was giving you direction while the world thought you were standing still. In truth, you were being positioned for breakthrough. Heaven was rearranging what you could not see. Sometimes, God hides progress inside pause. The stillness was not emptiness, it was alignment. Every delay you endured was heaven adjusting the timing so your blessing would not arrive prematurely. You might not realize it yet, but you have already heard the whisper of destiny. It came through an inner knowing, a peace that didn't make sense, a thought that kept returning no matter how much you tried to silence it. That's the frequency of heaven. It repeats until obedience answers. The prophet once wrote that when you turn to the right or the left, you will hear a voice behind you saying, "This is the way, walk in it." That is not just poetic, it's prophetic. The same whisper that guided them then still guides you now. It's the assurance that you are not walking blindly. You are being led by divine hands. The prophet Isaiah once wrote, chapter 30, verse 21, "Whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you, saying, 'This is the way, walk in it.'" Doubters, you don't need to fear silence anymore. You don't need to assume heaven is distant when you can't hear thunder. The God who created galaxies also speaks in whispers, personal, intentional, perfectly timed. The stillness around you is proof of his nearness. So lean in, listen. The whisper is calling your name again. It's guiding you away from chaos, away from confusion, and into clarity. Trust it. The closed doors will open when the whisper says now. Until then, rest. You are not forgotten. You are being fine-tuned for the sound of destiny. Comment, "I am listening." Because when you write those words, you're not just typing, you're declaring to heaven that you're done fighting for noise and ready to receive direction. The whisper is speaking, and this time, you will not miss it. When you write, "I am listening," you open the door of your heart and silence every competing voice. It is not just a phrase, it is surrender. It tells heaven that you trust the process, that you are ready to hear truth even when it challenges your comfort or interrupts your plans. When you say, "I am listening," you align yourself with divine rhythm. You're no longer rushing ahead or doubting in silence. You're tuning in to the whisper that leads you to peace. Heaven hears that declaration and begins to speak with greater clarity, revealing what confusion once tried to hide. When you declare, "I am listening," you are agreeing with destiny. You're telling God, "I choose awareness over anxiety, faith over fear." That confession activates guidance. It unlocks revelation, favor, and peace, because heaven responds not to noise, but to hearts willing to listen with full attention and obedience. There are sacred moments when heaven begins to lift the veil, when mysteries that once felt unreachable begin to unfold before your eyes. You can sense it, the spiritual envelope is being opened. What was sealed for seasons is now being revealed. Not all at once, but in divine layers. God does not rush revelation. He releases it in rhythm with your readiness. When a seal breaks in the spirit, it is never random. It is heaven's way of saying, "Now you can handle what I've hidden." There are things God could not show you before because they would have overwhelmed you. The weight of certain truths requires a foundation strong enough to hold them. You had to grow into this moment. Every unanswered question, every confusing chapter, every long night, it was all preparation for understanding. The delay was divine design. While you thought heaven was silent, God was shaping your mind and stretching your heart to comprehend what He's about to reveal. Revelation without maturity destroys, but revelation after surrender transforms. You are stepping into that transformation now. The breaking of the seal represents more than knowledge, it represents access. Doors that were spiritually locked are swinging open, not because you forced them, but because you finally aligned with heaven's timing. What was hidden is not being withheld anymore, it's being released. Some revelations come like lightning, sudden, unmistakable, powerful. Others come like sunrise, gradual, gentle, expanding light that slowly pushes away the night. The one you are stepping into is the sunrise kind. You may not even realize how much clarity has already begun to dawn in your life. The things that once confused you are starting to make sense, piece by piece, like a puzzle coming together under divine hands. The seal being broken means that what was once mystery is now instruction. You are moving from wondering to walking, from asking to acting. God is revealing strategies, insights, and directions that are not meant for public display. They are for your private obedience. What you receive in silence will later shape what you carry in light. There is a sacredness in secrecy. Before the revelation becomes visible, it must first be incubated in the unseen. Heaven trusts you now with what others cannot yet know. You have proven that you will not misuse divine insight for attention or pride. That is why the seal is breaking in your presence. It is heaven's vote of confidence in your character. Remember this, not every revelation is loud, and not every insight feels spectacular. Sometimes, it's simply the sudden peace that replaces fear. Sometimes, it's the unexplainable knowing that guides your next step. The breaking of the seal can look like calm after chaos, like understanding after confusion, like purpose after pain. You have arrived at a point in your journey where God can speak plainly to you. The tests you endured have refined your hearing. The wilderness stripped away distractions so that when the scroll was finally opened, you would not miss a single word. Revelation is God's way of saying, "You've passed the test, now receive the instruction." The secrets He reveals now will not just comfort you, they will commission you. You will see how your personal pain connects to a larger purpose. You will understand why you were led through certain places, why certain doors closed, and why you had to walk alone for a season. The breaking of the seal exposes the blueprint, the divine plan that was always unfolding beneath the surface. In this moment, God is not merely informing you, He is transforming you. The new understanding you carry will require a new level of faith. As the seal opens, you'll realize that revelation always comes with responsibility. What you see now will demand that you walk differently, think differently, speak differently. The truth is, God's surprises are not only blessings, they are also assignments. Every secret revealed carries a divine purpose. Heaven does not open scrolls for curiosity, it opens them for commissioning. The same light that shows you the way also reveals what you must now become. So, as the spiritual seal breaks, receive with reverence. What you are being shown is holy. Handle it with gratitude, not pride. Guard it, for it is sacred. And remember, every revelation is a seed. It will grow only if you nurture it with faith and obedience. The ancient record of Daniel reveals, chapter 2, verse 22, he reveals deep and hidden things. He knows what lies in darkness, and light dwells with him. This is your moment of unveiling. The darkness that once surrounded you is being pierced by divine light. The mysteries that haunted you are turning into messages of wisdom. The seal has been broken, and heaven is handing you the scroll of your next chapter. Read it with awe. Walk in it with courage. And know God always reveals at the right time. The air around you feels different now, lighter, charged with purpose. The unseen becomes seen, and understanding replaces confusion. You are no longer waiting at the door, you are walking through it. What was once mystery has become mission. The seal is broken, and revelation is alive within you. There are moments when heaven delivers messages so personal that they feel like letters written directly to your soul. This is one of those moments. The letter is sealed with your name, not printed on paper, but engraved upon your heart. God is saying, I have not forgotten what I promised you. All this time, while you were wondering whether heaven still saw you, your name was being spoken in divine conversations. Angels were being assigned. Doors were being prepared. You thought God was silent, but He was writing. Every tear you cried became ink in the story that is now being read over your life. The message you are receiving right now is not just encouragement, it is confirmation. Heaven is reminding you that what He started, He will finish. Nothing has been wasted. Every delay, every detour, every loss, it was all making room for divine completion. The letter from heaven doesn't arrive in an envelope you can hold. It arrives as peace that interrupts anxiety, as sudden clarity in confusion, as the quiet realization that everything is aligning at last. And this message, right now, is heaven's gentle tap on your shoulder saying, look again, the promise still stands. As the prophet wrote in the scroll of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3, for the revelation awaits an appointed time, though it linger. Wait for it, it will certainly come and will not delay. Sometimes, divine timing feels cruel until you see the full picture. You waited, you prayed, and maybe you even wondered if you'd missed your moment, but no. The letter has been in transit all along. God's mail never gets lost. It only arrives exactly when your heart is mature enough to receive it. You are stepping into that appointed time now. The promises you shelved are about to speak again. The dreams you buried are stirring beneath the surface. Heaven is saying, this is your season of unveiling. And as you receive this message, pause for a moment, breathe in, let it sink in that you are seen, known, and chosen. There is no greater miracle than realizing that the Creator of galaxies takes time to write your name into His story. Now, if this message has touched your heart, if you felt that tug deep in your spirit, the kind that whispers this was for me, then allow your response to be one of gratitude, not obligation, not pressure, Gratitude. Think of it like this: when you receive a letter that warms your soul, you don't give because someone demanded it. You give because your heart overflows. You give because something inside you says, I want to be part of what heaven is doing. When you click like, it's like placing your fingerprint on heaven's letter, saying, I've received this word. When you share, it's like handing that letter to someone still standing in the rain, saying, this brought me light, may it bring you light too. When you subscribe, it's like choosing to walk together through the pages of Revelation that are still being written. And if your heart stirs to donate, let it be like pouring oil into a lamp that keeps shining through the night. Each drop of generosity becomes light for another soul wandering in darkness. You are not paying for a message, you are feeding the flame that carries hope across the world. Giving in the kingdom is not a demand, it's a dance. It's the rhythm of hearts that recognize God's movement and choose to move with Him. Every gift, every gesture, becomes another heartbeat in this divine story. And for those who cannot give financially, know this: your prayer, your time, your simple act of kindness are all divine currency. Heaven measures not the size of the gift, but the sincerity of the heart. So if this message has spoken to your spirit, let gratitude guide your response. Click like, share the light. Subscribe to stay connected to this flow of faith. And if you feel led, give as one who plants a seed in eternal soil, not out of duty, but out of joy, not because you must, but because you want to see more hearts awaken just as yours did tonight. You are not required, you are invited. And every act done in love multiplies. Your name is written on the envelope of divine favor. The letter has arrived. Open it fully now with your faith, your gratitude, and your willingness to respond to God's whisper that says, this message was sent for you. When gratitude flows, giving becomes worship, not obligation. Your light joins countless others, forming a constellation of faith across the world. Each small act becomes a spark that keeps this divine flame alive. Your kindness travels farther than sight can reach. Somewhere, someone in darkness will feel warmth because you shared your light. That is how heaven multiplies miracles through hearts willing to give love form. The letter from heaven doesn't end, it continues through you. Every click, every prayer, every seed sown becomes ink that writes hope into another's story. The message lives on, carried by your faith. There comes a moment when what was promised begins to unfold before your very eyes. You have waited, you have endured, and now heaven is beginning to unveil the hidden reward. This is not a reward made of gold or fame, it is something far greater. It is the peace that surpasses understanding, the strength that others cannot comprehend, and the confirmation that your obedience has never been in vain. You've carried silent burdens that few ever saw. You've sown kindness when no one was watching. You've prayed in secret and stood firm even when the outcome looked uncertain. Those were not forgotten moments. They were recorded in heaven's archives. Each one counted as an act of faith. And now, God is saying, the time of revealing has come. Every hidden act of obedience carries invisible power. The world might not have clapped for you, but heaven did. Every time you chose to forgive instead of fight back, every time you prayed instead of complained, every time you loved when it was easier to hate, you built spiritual currency. And now, that account is being released. The reward was never lost. It was waiting for maturity. You may have felt like nothing was changing, but God was keeping score, not in judgment, but in justice. He was watching how you responded when no one else was looking, how you continued to give when it felt like you had nothing left. Heaven calls that faithfulness. And faithfulness always attracts favor. There's a shift happening in your spirit even now. You can sense that something has turned. The storms that once broke you have now bowed to your endurance. You've passed through fire, and you came out refined. The very things that tried to destroy you became tools that shaped you. What was meant to break you has become your breakthrough. The apostle reminds us in his letter to the Galatians, chapter 6, verse 9, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." That proper time is no longer a distant hope, it's becoming your now. You are stepping into the harvest season, not because life suddenly became easy, but because you refused to quit. You stayed when it was hard. You believed when it made no sense. You trusted even when heaven was silent. And that trust has unlocked the unseen reward. The hidden reward isn't just blessing, it's recognition from God Himself that you can be trusted with more. It's the quiet promotion that happens in the spirit before it manifests in the physical. You are being elevated. Even now, doors of favor are opening. Hearts are softening. Paths are clearing. You are walking into rooms that once felt closed because God Himself is leading the way. But remember, with every reward comes responsibility. The same grace that blesses also calls you higher. You cannot step into new glory with old patterns. The next level requires refined focus, deeper humility, and renewed gratitude. God's reward is not the finish line, it's the beginning of a new assignment. So, as this new season unfolds, guard your heart. Stay gentle even when elevated. Stay humble even when celebrated. The same obedience that brought you here will keep you here. And the light that now surrounds you will only grow brighter as you continue to walk in truth. Heaven is whispering. Do not fear, increase, embrace it. You've earned it through faith. You are not stepping into luck, you are stepping into alignment. What's coming to you now is not random, it's the visible proof that God saw every hidden moment of surrender and turned it into reward. This is your confirmation that the wait is over. The unseen has become seen. The hidden has been unveiled. Heaven is celebrating your perseverance. And now the earth will begin to echo that celebration. If this word speaks to your spirit, if you can feel that the reward is near, then take a prophetic step of faith and comment the number 444 below. That number symbolizes divine stability, foundation, and open gates. It's a declaration that you are ready to stand firm on what God is building in your life. When you type it, don't do it as a routine, do it as a prophecy. You are saying, Lord, I receive the reward not just in my hands, but in my heart. Let that comment be a spiritual signature on heaven's promise, marking this moment as the beginning of your visible harvest. You've waited long enough. You've endured enough. The unveiling is here, and the reward is real. Type 444 and stand in faith, because what you once dreamed of is already standing at your door, ready to be opened. When you write 444, you are not just typing numbers, you are building an altar of gratitude. It's a declaration that you trust God's timing and embrace the stability He provides. Each 444 carries a silent Amen. It says, "I am ready, Lord." For foundation and fulfillment, heaven sees your faith in motion and aligns every hidden promise toward completion. There are times when life feels like a battlefield, when plans collapse, friendships fade, and even your confidence wavers under the weight of disappointment. Yet, in the midst of all that chaos, something divine has been happening behind the scenes. Heaven has been intercepting every plan the enemy designed to destroy you. You didn't know it then. But each attack that came against you had to pass through divine permission. The enemy wanted to break you, but God turned those schemes into instruments of promotion. What was sent to wound you was reworked to shape you. Every setback, every betrayal, every sudden loss, none of it escaped heaven's oversight. The truth is, the adversary never attacks what is empty. He only goes after what carries potential. The pressure you've endured is proof of your anointing. Hell doesn't waste ammunition on those without purpose. You became a target because you carry something precious, something the darkness cannot steal but will always try to dim. When you felt the weight of spiritual warfare, when you woke up heavy, when your peace felt stolen, when confusion tried to take over, those moments were not signs of abandonment. They were evidence that heaven was guarding something inside you. God allowed the battle not to crush you, but to reveal what could not be destroyed. Many of the situations that once made you cry were actually divine interceptions. The relationship that ended before it broke you. The opportunity that vanished before it drained you. The friend who turned cold before betraying you completely, those were all heaven's redirections. God saw what you could not. His no was not rejection, it was protection. Sometimes He allows exposure so that you will no longer build your future on faulty foundations. Sometimes He allows loss so you'll learn that provision was never about people, but about His promise. The attacks were loud, but the protection was louder. You may not have seen the angels surrounding you, but they stood guard while you slept, ensuring that the blow never landed as hard as the enemy intended. There were nights when you felt surrounded by darkness, yet something invisible kept you from collapsing. That invisible force was grace. Grace stood between you and destruction. Grace whispered strength into your weakness, even when you thought you couldn't continue. The same grace that protected you then is the grace preparing you for what's next. What the enemy meant for harm has become the very evidence of your calling. You are not walking out of battle empty-handed, you're walking out with spiritual authority. The scars on your soul are not proof of defeat, they are medals of survival. Heaven honors those who stood their ground, even when trembling. The ancient story recorded in Genesis tells us, chapter 50, verse 20, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done." That verse is more than ancient comfort, it's your testimony. Every plan that was meant to harm you is being rewritten as part of your elevation. You are the living example that darkness cannot destroy destiny. When you look back now, you'll see how every detour was divine. The betrayal was a release. The rejection was a redirection. The delay was a safeguard. You may have walked through what looked like destruction, but heaven was escorting you to your destination. The truth is, divine interception often feels like disappointment until you gain perspective. You thought you were losing everything, but you were actually being rescued. God closed doors that hid traps, pulled you out of circles that celebrated your presence but despised your purpose, and silenced voices that would have poisoned your peace. You didn't miss your blessing, you were moved out of danger. Every loss became a lesson. Every heartbreak became holy ground where you learned to depend not on people, but on God alone. And now, you carry discernment you never had before. You can sense motives. You can feel atmospheres shift. You've learned to recognize the difference between what glitters and what's truly gold. That sensitivity was developed in battle. It's heaven's gift to those who survived warfare with their spirit intact. Your journey is proof that divine interception is real. The enemy had strategies, but God had sovereignty. Every dart thrown against you turned into direction. Every weapon aimed at your spirit became a signpost pointing toward your destiny. What once looked like chaos now reveals order in disguise. So stand tall in this truth: you were never defeated. You were defended. You were never abandoned. You were redirected. Heaven has been working in your favor even when life felt unfair. The war that was waged against you has already been won. Now you walk with the quiet confidence of someone who knows that grace guarded every step. You don't need revenge, you carry revelation. You don't need closure, you've been covered. Every plan of the enemy was intercepted by divine mercy. And that mercy is still working for you today. You survived what was meant to silence you. And in doing so, you have become the evidence that purpose is stronger than pain. Heaven didn't just save you, it redefined you. There comes a day when you finally understand why certain doors never opened, why some people couldn't stay, and why your path looked so different from everyone else's. You look back and realize you weren't rejected, you were reserved. Every moment that once made you feel forgotten was actually God setting you apart for something sacred. You were never meant to blend in. The world tried to label you as too much or too different, but heaven calls you necessary. From the beginning, your uniqueness has been your signature, the mark of someone chosen for divine work. You have always felt things deeply, sensed shifts before others noticed, and carried compassion that made no logical sense. Those traits weren't weaknesses, they were the fingerprints of heaven on your soul. Being chosen doesn't mean being comfortable. It means walking roads others can't comprehend. It means being pulled away from crowds to hear whispers no one else can hear. You have felt lonely, misunderstood, even invisible at times. But the truth is, you were hidden on purpose. Hidden, not because you were unworthy, but because you were being protected while you developed in silence. Many seasons in your life were divine concealment, while others appeared to be running ahead. You were being refined in secret. God knew premature exposure would have destroyed what was still being formed within you. Just as a seed is covered by the earth until the right time to sprout, so you were covered by grace until maturity aligned with mission. It was not punishment, it was preservation. Heaven cannot reveal what is sacred before it is strong. You were being strengthened beneath the surface, your roots digging deep into truth, your faith stretching to support the greatness that would one day bloom. Every lonely night, every unanswered question, every silent prayer, it all built capacity. You may have envied those who seemed to succeed effortlessly, but what they built quickly, you are building eternally. The difference is foundation. What grows too fast often falls too soon. But what grows through waiting stands through storms. You have learned patience, humility, endurance, all divine traits that few cultivate willingly. That's what makes you different. That's what proves you're chosen. It is written in the first letter of Peter, chapter 2, verse 9, "But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession. Those words are not distant promises, they are declarations of identity. You are not common, not ordinary, not replaceable. You are set apart, not because of what you've done, but because of what heaven has decided about you. You see, the rejection you faced was really redirection. Every door that closed saved you from a counterfeit calling. Every no you received was pushing you toward your true yes. God didn't remove people to hurt you. He removed them because they couldn't handle the weight of your destiny. Some were never meant to understand your language because they weren't assigned to your mission. Now that you stand in this moment of clarity, you can finally see that what felt like isolation was actually incubation. God hid you in plain sight so that your character would form before your crown appeared. And now, He's revealing what has been developing for years. You are beginning to see the evidence of purpose unfolding like dawn after a long night. Chosen ones often walk through misunderstood seasons because their preparation looks like confusion to those watching. But you were never being punished, you were being prepared. Every delay was strengthening your discernment. Every setback was deepening your trust. Every tear was washing away pride so that only purity would remain. When you know you are chosen, you stop begging for belonging. You stop chasing validation. You no longer explain your calling to those who cannot comprehend it. You start walking with quiet confidence, knowing that what is divine cannot be diluted by opinion. You have been anointed to carry light into dark places. That's why you've faced more opposition than most. The battles you fought weren't random, they were signs of assignment. Darkness always resists light, but light always wins. Your endurance has confirmed your election, your survival has proven your strength. You don't have to compete, compare, or prove anything anymore. The evidence of your calling is not in applause, but in endurance. You kept standing when others gave up. You kept believing when others doubted. That perseverance was heaven's proof that you could handle being chosen. So now, as you move forward, remember that chosen doesn't mean superior, it means responsible. You carry something sacred inside you. And the world needs what you've been cultivating in private. The love you've learned through pain, the faith you've forged through fire, the wisdom you've gained through waiting, all of it is holy treasure meant to be shared. You were never overlooked. You were reserved for divine timing. You were never rejected. You were redirected to a higher purpose. Every closed door, every lonely night, every misunderstood season was heaven whispering, "You're not forgotten, you're being positioned." Now the moment has arrived. The covering is lifting. What was hidden will soon be seen. And those who once questioned your silence will witness your shining. Because there are moments when your vision begins to clear, not the vision of your eyes, but the vision of your spirit. What once looked like chaos starts to form patterns, and what once felt meaningless begins to make sense. This is the awakening of spiritual sight, the unveiling of divine understanding that transforms confusion into clarity. You've been walking through life wondering why certain things had to happen, why people shifted, why opportunities vanished. But now, you are beginning to see that none of it was random. Heaven was painting a picture you could not yet comprehend. Every event was a brushstroke on the canvas of your destiny. Spiritual sight is not about predicting the future, it's about perceiving God's hand in the present. It's the ability to see purpose in pain, direction in delay, and protection in disappointment. Many people live with open eyes but closed perception. They see everything but understand nothing. Yet you, chosen one, are awakening to discernment that cuts through illusion and reveals truth. You've always felt more than others could explain. You could walk into a room and sense the atmosphere shift. You could meet someone and know their intentions before they spoke. That sensitivity was not a curse, it was preparation. God has been training your spirit to see beyond the visible, so you can walk by faith and not by sight. The Apostle Paul prays in his letter to the Ephesians, chapter 1, verse 18, "I pray that the eyes of your heart may be enlightened, in order that you may know the hope to which he has called you." That enlightenment is happening now. You are seeing through spiritual eyes, not emotional ones. The fog that once covered your path is lifting. The enemy tried to cloud your vision with fear, doubt, and distraction. But God is clearing the lenses of your soul so you can see what's truly happening around you. This awakening is not a sudden flash, it's a gentle dawning. Bit by bit, your discernment sharpens. You recognize that not everything good is God, and not every loss is failure. You stop reacting to appearances and start responding to revelation. You stop chasing what glitters and start guarding what grows. God is showing you patterns, signs that connect your past pain with your present purpose. The same situations that once broke you are now teaching you. You are beginning to understand that discernment is heaven's way of saving time. What others discover through regret, you now detect through wisdom. Spiritual sight doesn't make life easier, but it makes it clearer. You start recognizing what to release and what to retain. You see when a conversation carries peace or when it carries poison. You feel when an environment feeds your purpose or drains your soul. This is how heaven protects you now, through perception. You may feel things more intensely these days, but that's because God has enlarged your spiritual capacity. You are not too sensitive, you are spiritually awake. The noise of the world no longer satisfies you because you have learned to recognize heaven's frequency. With this sight comes responsibility. Once you can see, you can no longer pretend not to. You must choose your company wisely, your words carefully, and your focus intentionally. The same eyes that recognize beauty also detect danger. Discernment is not for judgment, it's for guidance. Every time your spirit warns you, every time peace withdraws from a place, every time you feel a quiet no inside, listen. That is God's way of steering you. What he shows you is sacred. Guard it with humility and gratitude. This clarity will not only protect you, it will also position you. You will begin to recognize opportunities that others overlook. You'll see divine appointments where others see coincidences. You'll catch glimpses of destiny unfolding. And you'll know exactly when to move and when to wait. So when things around you begin to shift again, don't panic. It's not confusion, it's calibration. Heaven is adjusting your vision to match your next season. You are being equipped to see through deception, to discern divine timing, and to walk confidently in truth. You are no longer walking blindly, you are walking with insight. The same eyes that cried through darkness are now beholding light. You can finally see what heaven has been doing all along, and once your spirit sees, it can never unsee. Comment, "I see clearly." When you type those words, you're declaring that you are no longer bound by illusion. You're saying, "God, I choose to see through your eyes." It's a statement of awakening, a recognition that your discernment is a gift, and that your sight has shifted from pain to purpose. When you write, "I see clearly," you affirm that confusion no longer controls you. It's a prophetic act of clarity, declaring that every hidden truth will now stand visible beneath heaven's light and divine understanding. Each "I see clearly" becomes a mirror of awareness, reflecting your readiness to walk in revelation. It tells heaven that you will no longer stumble in shadow but move forward, guided by spiritual sight and wisdom. There are crowns in heaven that don't glitter, they glow. They're not made of jewels, but of endurance. They are the invisible crowns forged in the fire of trials, worn by those who chose faith instead of fear, love instead of bitterness. You, chosen one, are among them. What you thought was breaking you was actually shaping your crown. Every test you endured was a stroke of divine craftsmanship. Pressure polished you, tears washed you, waiting refined you. Heaven was not punishing you, it was preparing you for visible authority. The trial that crushed your pride carved space for glory. What you survived was never wasted. It became your coronation training. Many people admire crowns but flee the process that forms them. Yet you didn't flee. You stood. You kept believing when everything in you wanted to give up. That faith became gold. That perseverance became silver. That humility became precious stone. God doesn't place crowns on untested heads. He crowns those who refuse to quit. Now, heaven is lifting the veil, and your inner victory is becoming visible. The same world that saw your pain will soon witness your promotion. The same voices that doubted you will see divine distinction resting on your life. You won't need to announce it, the glow will speak for you. The Apostle James declares, James, chapter 1, verse 12, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life." That promise is not poetic, it's personal. You have been tested not to prove your weakness, but to reveal your strength. God saw something in you worth refining. And now that process is bearing fruit. But hear this truth, gently crowns come with calling. Glory is not the end of the story, it's the beginning of responsibility. You are being entrusted with influence, and how you steward that influence will determine how far the light travels. The crown is not a trophy, it's a torch. It's meant to shine for others still walking in darkness. When people look at your life, they should feel hope again. That's the real purpose of being crowned, to reflect heaven's victory on earth. And if this message has touched you, let your gratitude become light too. When you click like, it's like lifting your torch higher so that others can find their way through the night. Your single spark may ignite someone else's courage. When you share this message, it's as though you're passing the flame to another traveler, saying, "Here, this warmth kept me alive. Let it warm you too." When you subscribe, it's like joining a circle around a sacred fire, one that never goes out, one that burns with encouragement, prayer, and revelation. You're not a follower, you're a keeper of the flame. And if your heart whispers to give, then let your giving be like pouring oil into that same fire. Oil makes light last longer. Every act of generosity, small or great, keeps this flame reaching hearts you may never meet. Donating isn't a duty, it's devotion. It's a way of saying, I want this light to travel farther. You are not buying blessings, you are building bridges of hope. The same message that comforted you tonight may one day rescue someone else tomorrow. If you can't give financially, give through presence. Pray, engage, encourage others in the comments. Every act of love is a contribution. Heaven measures by heart, not by amount. Imagine this: every like is a spark. Every share is a torch passed. Every donation is oil added to the flame. Together, these become a constellation of light souls shining across nations, connected by unseen faith. You're not just part of an audience, you're part of a movement of mercy. What you build with love cannot be erased. The glow you give away today will return to you multiplied, brighter and purer. The same crown that was forged in your pain will now shine through your generosity. You are the evidence that beauty can rise from ashes. Your life itself is a lamp. So hold it high, let it burn. And as you do, remember, this fire didn't begin with you, it began in heaven, and you were chosen to carry it. The world is darker than it admits, but every light counts. Every act of kindness creates warmth. Every word of hope becomes spark. Keep giving light. Keep reflecting glory. Keep shining. If this message has reached the deepest part of you, do what your heart feels led to do. Like, share, subscribe, or give not because anyone asked, but because you understand the beauty of light shared freely. You are not just wearing a crown, you are becoming one, a living crown of compassion, courage, and grace. And as your light spreads, heaven smiles. For this is how kings and queens in the kingdom of God rule, not by power, but by love. Your story now gleams like morning dew upon a new crown. Each act of kindness polishes it brighter. The world may not notice immediately, but heaven already calls your light royal. There is a kind of victory that doesn't come with noise. It arrives quietly, while the world sleeps and heaven rearranges destinies in silence. You may not see it yet, but something sacred has shifted in your favor. The tables are turning not through your striving, but through God's unseen hand. You've spent seasons feeling like nothing was moving, yet behind closed doors, heaven has been writing your turnaround story. The delays that made you doubt were actually divine pauses meant to align timing, people, and purpose. The silence you endured was not abandonment, it was strategy. God was working while you waited. There are miracles that shout, and there are miracles that whisper. Yours belongs to the second kind. The change is happening in stillness, like dawn quietly replacing night. You wake up one morning and realize the heaviness you carried has lifted. The atmosphere around you feels lighter. And even though nothing looks different, everything is different. You don't need to force what God is already arranging. The most powerful moves of heaven rarely come with thunder. They come softly, through shifted hearts, unexpected opportunities, divine timing. God doesn't need a crowd to crown your breakthrough. He only needs your patience. The transformation that is unfolding now was set in motion long ago. You planted seeds of faith through your tears, and now the harvest is quietly blooming. What grows in secret first will later be celebrated in public. The tables are turning not with noise, but with inevitability. Many people chase visibility, but heaven values consistency. You have remained faithful when it felt fruitless. You kept showing up when results were invisible. That steadfastness has become your open door. The God who saw your quiet obedience is now shifting the balance in your favor. According to the words of Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 6, But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father, who is unseen. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. Those words echo through eternity. They remind us that heaven's rewards are often prepared in silence. The greatest victories are born in private battles. God is the architect of invisible triumphs. You may have felt unnoticed, but the secret work was never unseen. Every whispered prayer, every quiet act of forgiveness, every moment you chose love over bitterness, all of it built momentum in the spiritual realm. Heaven was storing those moments like treasures. And now it's time for the unveiling. You won't need to fight for recognition. Divine favor doesn't need human validation. The same God who watched your faith in silence is about to make it visible without your striving. While others were sleeping, He was setting the table. You are about to sit where once you were not invited. This turning is not revenge, it's restoration. God is not putting you ahead to humiliate others. He is restoring what was broken, multiplying what was lost, redeeming what was wasted. The tables are turning to prove that endurance is never ignored. Do not despise the stillness that surrounds you right now. That quiet is sacred. It's the sound of alignment. While it may appear calm, heaven's activity is in full motion. What God is building in this silence will outlast the noise of your past battles. The beauty of divine reversal is that it requires no announcement. The evidence will speak for itself. People who once doubted you will have to acknowledge that something beyond human explanation has touched your life. You won't even need to say, "I told you so." The peace you carry will say it for you. When tables turn by God's command, no hand can stop them. The same circumstances that once worked against you will begin to work for you. The same people who overlooked you will now see you through new eyes. The same situations that felt like endings will suddenly unfold as beginnings. This new season requires quiet confidence. You don't need to broadcast what's changing, just stay in posture. Stay grateful. And stay grounded. Heaven's justice doesn't shout, it shines. The more you rest in trust, the faster the balance shifts. Every story has a silent turning point, the moment where everything changes, even though nothing looks different yet. You are standing in that moment right now. The plot of your life has already flipped in the spirit. Soon, the physical world will catch up. Let gratitude anchor you. Thank God for the silence that protected you, for the stillness that trained you, and for the secret victories that no one else saw. They built the foundation for the favor that's unfolding now. The tables have turned quietly but completely. You don't owe anyone an explanation. The shift is already done. Walk forward, not boasting, but glowing with peace. Heaven's reward is never rushed, but it's always right on time. The night has finished its whisper, and morning stands at your door. The unseen work is complete. Step forward gently. The world will soon notice what heaven already knows. You've been divinely turned. Every doorway in the spirit opens at an appointed time, and yours is swinging wide right now. For so long you have stood before locked gates, pressing your hand against them, praying for movement. You've asked, "When? God, when will the promise open?" Heaven's answer comes softly now. The door was never closed to punish you, it was protected for you. Divine doors don't open by force, they open by readiness. You had to become strong enough to walk through without fear, humble enough to handle the blessing, and wise enough to use what's waiting on the other side. Now, The alignment has arrived. Heaven and earth have met at the hinge of your obedience, and the sound you hear is the latch releasing. This door is not like any you've known before. It doesn't just lead to new opportunities, it leads to new identity. Once you step through, you won't think the same, speak the same, or see the same. You'll look back and realize that the waiting season was the doorway's frame. In the revelation given to John, chapter 3, verse 8, the word declares, "See, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut." Those words are alive right now in your story. You are standing before an irreversible opening. Every attempt of darkness to delay you has failed. What was once sealed is now accessible, not because of your strength, but because of divine favor. When God opens a door, no opposition can close it. You don't need to knock louder, you need only to step forward in faith. The locks have already fallen. The threshold is glowing with invitation. Heaven is saying, "Walk in, what you prayed for is waiting." This new doorway doesn't just bless you, it blesses through you. What you carry into this next season will feed others. The wisdom you gained through pain, the peace you cultivated in chaos, the endurance you forged in trials, all of it becomes provision for those who will follow your path. Every divine door carries both promise and purpose. The promise blesses you, the purpose builds others. The key that unlocked this moment was your obedience in the last one. When you trusted God in stillness, you created momentum. Look closely, behind this open door is restoration. What you lost will be returned differently. Not as it was, but as it should be. Relationships will heal in unexpected ways. Opportunities will reappear with greater favor. And the places where you felt unqualified will now welcome you with grace. The air itself feels different when heaven's doors open. Suddenly, peace replaces panic, clarity replaces confusion, and your spirit begins to run where it once crawled. This is not wishful thinking, it's divine reality breaking through. But remember, new doors come with new dimensions of discipline. You can't bring old habits into a new hallway. Pride can't walk where purpose reigns. Fear can't fit through faith's threshold. Leave behind everything that chained you to yesterday. It doesn't belong in what God is building next. Take a deep breath right now. The door before you isn't small, it's sacred. You will step through and realize that the waiting didn't waste you, it prepared you. Every prayer, every delay, every tear became the key that fit this exact lock. And as you walk forward, let your spirit whisper gratitude, because once you cross this line, your old season ends. The heaviness that once clung to you will stay behind, unable to follow where favor now leads. This door is heaven's answer to your endurance. You waited faithfully, and the reward has arrived. Step through it with quiet courage, not rushing, not hesitating, just believing. For the one who opened it will walk through with you. If this word resonates in your spirit, comment the number 555 below. It represents divine change, movement, and new grace for transition. When you type it, do it as a prophetic act, saying, "I'm stepping through my open door." Each 555 is a declaration of readiness, a signal to heaven that you're not afraid of new beginnings. It's your way of marking this moment in faith, claiming your place in the flow of divine transformation. The door is open. Walk through. Heaven is waiting. When you write 555, you are not just leaving a comment, you are crossing a threshold. It's a silent yes, a spiritual step forward saying, I am ready for transformation. Each number echoes movement, grace, and divine renewal. Typing 555 is a symbol of release. It means you are letting go of what no longer fits, allowing God to rewrite the next chapter of your life. It's your way of unlocking faith's door with words that carry power beyond the screen. Every 555 becomes a light signal in the spirit realm, marking you as one who dares to walk into promise. It tells heaven, I trust you, even in transition. And as you declare it, you'll feel peace rising within, because your step of faith aligns perfectly with the door God has already opened before you. There comes a time in every chosen one's journey when the mask finally falls away and the mirror shows truth, not the reflection shaped by others' opinions, but the image that heaven has seen all along. This is that time for you. The reunion with your true self is not a moment of discovery. It is a moment of remembrance. You are remembering who you have always been in God's eyes. For too long, you have worn identities that were never meant for you, labels given by pain, by people, by misunderstanding. You've tried to fit into spaces that were too small for your spirit. But the longer you carried false names, the heavier they became, until your soul whispered, there must be more than this. That whisper was truth calling you home. You were never meant to perform for acceptance. You were designed to live from authenticity. Every version of yourself that you created for survival is now being peeled away, layer by layer, so that what remains is pure and free. The world may see this as change, but heaven knows it as restoration. As you step into this reunion, grace becomes your companion. There is no condemnation here, no shame for who you were. The same God who allowed the breaking is the one orchestrating your rebuilding. Every broken identity is being replaced with divine clarity. Every false label is being burned away by truth. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Chapter 139, verse 14. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Those words are not distant poetry. They are your reality. You are wonderfully made, not accidentally, not incompletely, but intentionally. Every scar, every quirk, every untold story has purpose woven through it. God did not make a mistake when He made you. You were formed with divine precision, created to reflect a side of heaven that no one else can. That's why comparison has always hurt so deeply. It has always been a betrayal of your design. You were never meant to mirror another's light. You were meant to shine your own. As you rediscover who you are, you'll notice that peace returns to places once ruled by anxiety. You'll find yourself breathing easier, walking lighter, speaking more gently to your own heart. That's what happens when you stop striving to be someone else. Harmony replaces exhaustion. Rest returns. The reunion with your true self is not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming honest. It's learning to look at your reflection and say, this is who God loves. When you accept that truth, healing begins to flow through every memory that once made you doubt your worth. You will start to see that nothing about you was wasted. The seasons of silence taught empathy. The years of rejection birthed discernment. The moments of weakness became the seeds of wisdom. Even your mistakes turned into mirrors that reflected grace. And now, As you walk into this new awareness, you no longer crave validation from the crowd. You have learned to hear God's approval in the quiet. That's where true confidence is born, not from applause, but from assurance. You are no longer chasing love, you are walking in it. This new season will call for courage, the courage to be authentic in a world that worships imitation. But authenticity is your anointing. The more you embrace who you truly are, the stronger your light becomes. Pretending was exhausting, truth is liberating. Don't fear being misunderstood. Not everyone will recognize the version of you that is now emerging. And that's okay. Some relationships were built on the person you used to be. Let them fade if they must. The ones meant for your destiny will recognize your growth and celebrate your truth. You will notice that your voice changes. It carries more authority now because it comes from alignment, not approval. Your presence will bring peace. Your words will carry weight, and your actions will echo purpose. You won't have to explain yourself. Your authenticity will speak louder than your defense ever could. This is what freedom feels like, being fully seen by heaven and still completely loved. You no longer need to shrink to make others comfortable. You no longer need to hide your brilliance to be accepted. You were created to stand tall, clothed in grace, crowned in truth. So, as you move forward, do it gently but firmly. Let go of the costumes of the past. Let your laughter return. Let your light be unfiltered. The world doesn't need a copy of anyone else. It needs the version of you that heaven handcrafted before time began. And when doubt tries to whisper again, remember this: you are not becoming someone new. You are returning to who you were always meant to be. You stand now as truth, wearing skin, no masks, no fear, only light. The version of you that once hid is gone. What remains is real, radiant, and ready to walk boldly in divine authenticity. There is a light that cannot be hidden, and it burns within you. It is not ordinary brightness, it is divine radiance. Born from every trial you've endured and every prayer you've whispered through tears. You've tried to dim it at times, to make others comfortable, but heaven keeps reigniting it. This light was never meant to fit, it was meant to shine. The light that frightens darkness is not found in loud declarations or dramatic gestures. It's found in quiet resilience, in compassion that refuses to fade, in hope that rises again and again. You carry that kind of light, the kind that unsettles what is false and awakens what is sleeping. Even when you felt dimmed by pain, your glow never went out. It only grew steadier. There is a reason your presence has always shifted rooms. People may not understand it, but their spirits recognize it. Light cannot enter without altering what surrounds it. That is why some were drawn to you, while others withdrew you, reminded them of what they'd forgotten: truth, conviction, and the beauty of grace. Your glow is not arrogance, it is evidence. It is the reflection of battles won in silence, of forgiveness chosen when anger felt easier. The radiance you carry is the result of countless inner victories that no one saw. Heaven saw, and heaven called it holy. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." Those words are both an affirmation and an assignment. They remind you that your glow isn't just for yourself, it's for those still wandering in the dark. The world is aching for authenticity, and your light carries healing power. It doesn't need to shout, it only needs to shine. You've spent enough time apologizing for brightness. You've watered down your voice, softened your truth, lowered your flame, but still, the light found ways to break through the cracks. You cannot extinguish what heaven has ignited. Every time you tried to shrink, purpose pulled you back up. Every time you hid, grace found you and said, "Stand again." Your light frightens darkness because it exposes deception. When you enter spaces built on pretense, truth enters with you. You don't have to speak much, your spirit speaks for you. That is why you faced resistance. Light always provokes what prefers the shadows. But the same light that exposes also heals. You have the rare ability to confront without condemning, to reveal without shaming, to challenge and comfort in the same breath. That balance is divine. It is what makes your presence transformative. People leave your company not merely impressed but awakened. That is what it means to carry heaven's flame. Do not fear being misunderstood. Light is rarely comfortable for eyes accustomed to darkness. Some will walk away, not because they dislike you, but because they are not ready to see. Bless them anyway. Your role is not to convince, it's to continue shining. The more you walk in truth, the brighter you become. The brighter you become, the more clarity surrounds you. Opportunities that were once hidden start revealing themselves. People of purpose find you without you chasing them. It's not coincidence, it's magnetism, divine alignment at work. When your light grows, the shadows around you begin to dissolve. You'll notice peace settling in places where confusion once lived. The chaos that used to unsettle you loses power, because darkness cannot dwell where light remains. This glow is not temporary, it's eternal. It's not based on your feelings, but on God's design. The world may try to cover it, distract it, or distort it, but heaven has already declared its permanence. Even in your weakest seasons, the embers of purpose still burn. You don't need to do anything spectacular to keep shining. Just keep choosing truth over comfort, kindness over bitterness, faith over fear. Every time you do, your light intensifies. The glow becomes guidance for others and protection for you. And when the night feels longest, remember, light shines brightest when darkness thinks it has won. You are living proof that hope cannot be buried. Your radiance is not fading, it's multiplying. The same God who placed galaxies in the sky placed his reflection in you. So walk forward without hesitation. You don't need validation to shine, you were born to. The flame within you is both armor and announcement, armor against despair, announcement of redemption. Let it blaze without apology. The darkness may tremble, but it cannot triumph. The more it tries to smother you, the brighter you'll become, because your light is not borrowed, it's divine, and divine light never dies. The radiance within you is heaven's handwriting on your soul, a living testimony that no night lasts forever. You are the dawn breaking through despair, carrying warmth to places long forgotten by hope. Every breath you take keeps the flame alive. Let your glow stretch beyond circumstance, reaching hearts that have forgotten their worth. Your light isn't borrowed, it's eternal, handcrafted by divine love. Some announcements in heaven do not sound like trumpets, they sound like peace. You can feel it even now, the still but powerful stirring in your spirit. Something has been declared over your life, a divine proclamation echoing in unseen realms. It is time. What once felt delayed is now being delivered. What was hidden is about to be revealed. The waiting you endured has ripened into fulfillment. Heaven is not merely answering you, it is announcing you. You are stepping into a season where your name carries new weight. Not because of fame, but because of purpose. When heaven makes an announcement, it doesn't need the world's approval. It doesn't require applause or validation. It simply speaks. And creation rearranges itself to agree. Every closed door, every forgotten opportunity, every silent prayer begins to shift when heaven says, "Now." The prophet Isaiah proclaims in chapter 60, verse 1, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." This is not a distant promise, it is a present invitation. Heaven is calling you to stand where you once bowed, to speak where you once stayed silent, to live boldly where you once merely survived. The glory rising on you is not borrowed, it is born within. You've been walking through years of quiet cultivation, hidden growth, unseen refining. Now, the fruit of that season is beginning to show. God is not bringing you into this moment unprepared. Every storm trained you. Every heartbreak softened you. Every battle taught you how to carry light without pride. But this next chapter, this divine announcement, carries a gentle reminder. Light multiplies only when it's shared. What you carry is not meant to stay contained. It's meant to reach others who are still wandering through shadow. So, when this message touches your heart, let your response be simple, free, and full of meaning. When you click like, it's like lighting a candle in a cathedral. You're saying, "I agree with heaven's declaration." That single spark joins countless others, turning private faith into a sea of illumination. When you share, it's like releasing a dove from your hands, allowing hope to fly where you may never go. Each share becomes a wingbeat of grace, carrying light into the timelines, homes, and hearts of those who've forgotten they're loved. When you subscribe, it's like returning to a well whose waters never run dry. You're not joining a channel, you're joining a circle of souls who thirst for meaning, who draw from the same source of divine encouragement. Day by day, word by word, when you comment, it's as if you're adding your voice to heaven's song. Each word written becomes another note of gratitude, echoing through eternity, whispering, "I heard, I felt, I believe." Your comment is not noise, it's worship in written form. And if your heart feels stirred to give, let it be like adding oil to a lamp already burning bright. Every drop extends the glow a little longer, allowing someone else to find their way home. Donating is not obligation, it's participation in beauty. It's the whisper of gratitude that says, "This light found me. I want it to find others." If you cannot give financially, your kindness is still currency. Your prayers are wings. Your presence is a gift. In heaven's economy, love is never measured by amount, but by intention. Every small act done in sincerity echoes farther than you imagine. Think of this moment not as a transaction, but as communion. We are all flames in the same fire, drops in the same river, stars in the same sky. When one shines brighter, the whole night changes. That is what your engagement does. It amplifies heaven's message through the simplest acts of love. Each heart that listens, each hand that shares, each soul that comments or contributes becomes part of a living choir of light. You're not supporting a voice, you're sustaining a movement, one that keeps reminding the world that faith, kindness, and grace are still alive. And so, as heaven's announcement rings over your life, receive it not with pressure, but with peace. Let your actions be offerings of joy, not duty. Every like is a candle, every share a wing, every comment a song, every subscription a step closer, every gift a drop of oil, keeping the flame alive. You are not obligated, you are invited. You are not compelled, you are chosen. This is how love moves quietly, willingly, beautifully. The sound of heaven's announcement still echoes around you, soft yet sure, like wind stirring golden leaves. Every act of kindness you release adds harmony to that sound, weaving your life into a greater divine song. Your light joins countless others, forming a chorus of faith that reaches beyond distance and time. Together, we are the melody of mercy, the rhythm of grace, the living music of heaven made visible on earth. Heaven has announced your season, and you are already walking in its sound. Let gratitude be your echo, and generosity be your song. Together, we make the melody of heaven heard upon the earth. When heaven begins to pour, it rarely drizzles, it floods. The shift that has been quietly building is now overflowing into every corner of your life. What once trickled is now surging, what once delayed is now delivered. This is the season where favor begins to multiply, where miracles no longer arrive as visitors but dwell as residents. You may not notice it at first, because divine overflow does not always look like excess. Sometimes it appears as peace in places that used to carry chaos. Sometimes it feels like laughter returning after years of silence. Sometimes it manifests in opportunities that fit so perfectly that you know only heaven could have arranged them. Overflow is not random, it's relational. It begins when your heart aligns with divine timing. The posture of trust opens channels that effort alone could never unlock. You have spent enough time striving, now you are being invited to receive. The overflow is the evidence that the waiting was never wasted. You didn't lose time, you were being filled. Every lesson, every prayer, every act of obedience became a vessel that heaven can now pour into. What looked like emptiness was really preparation. Heaven speaks clearly through the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 10. See if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it. Those words are not ancient poetry, they are a prophecy being fulfilled in your present. The floodgates have opened. Grace is overflowing. The areas of your life that once felt barren are beginning to bloom again. The beautiful paradox of divine overflow is that it does not always fill your hands first, it fills your heart. The peace that you once chased now meets you in the morning. The joy that seemed gone forever now returns without explanation. The strength you thought you lost has been quietly rebuilding within you. This is heaven's way of saying, you are ready to hold more. Overflow is never about accumulation, it's about distribution. You are blessed to become a blessing. The river running through you is meant to water others as you pour out encouragement, wisdom, love, and kindness. The flow only increases. Divine abundance never runs dry because it moves, it circulates. The moment it's shared, it multiplies. This season of overflow will touch more than your circumstances. It will heal your perspective. You'll begin to see that the scarcity you once feared was an illusion. Heaven has always had enough. You were never truly empty. You were simply waiting for alignment. You've reached the point where doors open without knocking, where the right people appear without striving, where what you once chased begins to find you. This is not luck, it's divine choreography. Every step, every season, every setback brought you into rhythm with heaven's pulse. The overflow also brings clarity. As blessings increase, discernment must deepen. Not everything that glitters belongs to God, and not every open door is divine. But you'll know what's yours because peace will settle there like sunlight on still water. Be careful not to shrink out of humility. True humility is not denying abundance, it's stewarding it with gratitude. You are allowed to live blessed without guilt. You are allowed to rest without apology. You are allowed to enjoy what God has given without explaining why you're smiling again. This is not the end of struggle, it's the beginning of stability. Overflow doesn't remove challenges, it changes how you experience them. You face life differently when your cup runs over. You stop begging and start blessing. You stop doubting and start declaring. The old mindset cannot travel into this new season. You must release the fear that says, "What if it disappears?" Overflow is not fragile, it's faithful. The same God who filled you today will refill you tomorrow. You will never run out because you live connected to the source. There will be moments when you're tempted to hide the abundance, to downplay the goodness out of fear of judgment. But your testimony is not bragging, it's proof that God still keeps promises. Every time you tell your story, you open another stream for others to drink from. Look around, doors you thought were closed are now swinging wide. Relationships once strained are softening. Strength once lost is returning. It's not coincidence, it's confirmation. The overflow has begun, and it will not stop here. Walk in it with reverence. Carry it with grace. Let gratitude guard it. The more thankful you become, the more heaven releases. You are no longer surviving, you are flowing. The floodgates are open. Let the current carry you. What once was withheld is now being poured out without measure. You are living beneath an open heaven, and nothing can dam what God has destined to flow. The sound of rushing water surrounds your spirit, now steady, unstoppable, sacred. You are standing in the river of promise, drenched in grace that will never run dry again. Every drop carries memory and meaning. What once felt like drought now becomes song. You are living proof that heaven's rivers always rise on time. There comes a moment when revelation stops being something you wait for and becomes something you live in. This is that moment. The gift that heaven promised has finally unfolded before your eyes, not suddenly, but perfectly timed. Every tear, every prayer, every silent night was preparing you for this unveiling. The surprise you've been sensing is not just a blessing, it is the realization of purpose itself. The revelation does not arrive as a thunderclap, it arrives as understanding. You wake one morning and everything feels familiar yet new, as if the colors of life have deepened. You see how the threads of your story, once tangled, now form a tapestry of divine intent. You realize that nothing was wasted, not one hardship, not one detour, not one moment of pain. It all led here, to this sacred clarity. You were never waiting for the gift. The gift was waiting for you, waiting for your heart to soften, your faith to strengthen, your vision to widen. And now that you are ready, heaven releases what it always intended to give: peace, purpose, and power. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 29, verse 11, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." These ancient words are breathing over you now. They are not promises for another generation, they are declarations for your present moment. Every plan of heaven concerning you is intact. Every dream that seemed delayed is alive. The divine surprise was never about a single event. It was about revealing that you were part of God's plan all along. When revelation unfolds, it doesn't just change circumstances, it changes sight. You begin to see through heaven's perspective. What once felt like loss becomes preparation. What once seemed like rejection now looks like redirection. The pieces align, and gratitude replaces confusion. The unveiling of God's surprise isn't only what you receive, it's who you become. The reward of revelation is transformation. You are no longer the version of yourself that doubted, feared, or questioned. You've become someone who trusts without evidence, who believes before seeing, who understands that divine timing is always flawless. The surprise that has arrived is not wrapped in material abundance, though blessings will follow. It is wrapped in awareness, an awakening to your worth, to your assignment, to your belonging. You've discovered that you are not surviving life, you are partnering with heaven. That realization is the true gift. Now, peace settles over you like morning light through an open window. It doesn't rush, it rests. It fills the spaces where worry once lived. It hums softly, a steady reminder that everything is working together for good. You no longer need to chase outcomes, because you finally understand that the promise and the process were one and the same. There's a holiness in this stillness. The striving has ended. You are not reaching anymore, you are receiving. You are standing in the fulfillment of prayers that once felt unanswered. You are living inside the yes of God. Revelation changes not only your understanding of God, but your understanding of yourself. You see now that you were never unqualified, only unfinished. You were never overlooked, only preserved. The waiting was the womb of wisdom. And now, what was hidden within you has come alive. The divine surprise is not something outside of you, it's the awakening within you. It is the quiet awareness that heaven's hand has been guiding you all along, even when you couldn't trace it. Every moment of doubt was met with mercy. Every cry was answered with compassion. You've stepped into a sacred alignment, the merging of destiny and readiness. This is the fullness of time, where everything makes sense in retrospect. The revelation doesn't demand celebration, it invites awe. You simply breathe and whisper, "So, this is what you were doing, God." And in that whisper, heaven smiles, because this is what the surprise was meant to do, to bring you into wonder, into trust, into oneness with your Creator. You've crossed the threshold. You no longer stand in longing, you stand in living promise. Carry this peace forward. Let the revelation rest in you. Walk slowly now, with gratitude in every step. The surprise has unfolded, the mystery revealed, the waiting transformed into worship. You are the gift unwrapped, the promise fulfilled, the chosen one crowned not with glory that fades, but with purpose that endures. You stand now in holy silence, surrounded by answers that breathe. The path ahead no longer frightens you, it shines. What was hidden is clear, and peace has finally become your rhythm. Every heartbeat hums with gratitude. You are living inside fulfillment, wrapped in light that cannot dim. Heaven is not distant anymore, it walks beside you, whispering purpose through every breath. This is your becoming, not your ending. The revelation is alive, pulsing through every moment. Carry it gently. The same hand that revealed will continue to guide you, always toward greater glory. And now, chosen one, you have walked the full journey from uncertainty to revelation, from darkness to divine light. Every word you've read was not chance, it was alignment. Heaven orchestrated this encounter to remind you that purpose still burns bright within your soul. If these words have stirred something deep inside you, let your response be gentle, heartfelt, and free. When you click like, it's like placing a stone on sacred ground, a quiet acknowledgement that you've heard heaven's whisper and chosen to remember. When you share, it's as though you're opening a window in a dim room, letting light spill into places you'll never see. Somewhere, someone may read your shared message and find hope again. That's how heaven moves through ordinary gestures filled with extraordinary meaning. When you subscribe, it's like returning to a safe harbor, where every new wave carries words that steady your heart. You're not subscribing to a channel, you're stepping into an ongoing conversation between heaven and your spirit, a reminder that you are never alone on this path. And if your heart quietly whispers to give, then let it be as pure as offering a cup of water to another traveler. Your donation becomes a ripple of love that travels farther than your eyes can follow. It fuels messages that reach souls still searching for light, just as you once did. You are not paying, you are planting. Finally, when you comment, imagine it as adding your voice to the chorus of faith echoing across generations. Every word you write, be it gratitude, testimony, or even a simple Amen, is a spark that tells heaven, I am here, and I believe. This is not obligation, it is overflow. The same love that found you now flows through you. Together, we carry light forward, one click, one share, one seed, one word at a time, until the whole world glows with hope again.